Now, following her speech at the Conservative Party conference this week, Suella Braverman revealed plans for new laws which will impose a blanket ban on anyone deemed to be entering the UK illegally, from seeking refuge or asylum. It comes after the government's plan to deport anyone considered to have arrived in the UK illegally to Rwanda was, of course, stalled following an intervention by the European Court of Human Rights. So how feasible is this idea by the new Home Secretary, and is it legal? Well, to break this down further, I'm joined by the immigration consultant Dean Morgan and specialist immigration lawyer Ivon Sampson. Dean, as an immigration consultant, you know more than most, right, about the kind of topics that we've just been talking about here, the legal processes and the costs put in place to actually get to this country legally. Do you welcome these announcements by the Home Secretary?
Yeah, I certainly welcome it. I mean, you never hear about the millions of people every year, like my clients, that submit their applications overseas. They follow due process. They pay an exorbitant amount of fees nowadays, thousands of pounds per applicant, you know, to come here and follow due process. And we're a nation of laws. You know, the people that are fleeing the countries overseas, are they a nation of laws, or are they lawless countries or countries that are facing conflict and war? And so if you're coming to the UK and your first act is to break our laws to get here, and, you know, the media always says, and correct me if I'm wrong, that people are paying tens of thousands of pounds to people smugglers to help them get across the channel. Well, they have the money to apply for, you know, following due process, to apply for the visas that my clients apply for. So I can only assume that they're not following due process because they assume that they won't qualify for a visa or they won't be allowed to come here. So they decide to disregard travel through 5 to 15 safe countries, because international law provides for people that are fleeing conflict. You should get to the first safest country and you should wait out the conflict there. And that enables you then to go back and help rebuild your country once that conflict ends. But you travelling through 5 to 15 safe countries to come to the UK, are you an economic migrant or are you a refugee? Because again, you're disregarding international law, you're disregarding British law. That can't be the best foundation for people coming to the UK, surely.
So, Dean, just to sum that up, what you're saying is actually your clients who are genuinely seeking to come to Britain through legal channels, this is actually creating an unfair balance in the system.
Well, that's the thing, because I speak to, you know, we have many clients that are British and we help their wives and husbands to come here on spouse visas. And obviously the British, you know, person's regularly making comments because of what they read in the media. And obviously they're saying, well, look, you know, we're having to wait up to 6 months for our spouse visa applications worldwide to be processed, allegedly because of the Ukraine family crisis. And, you know, it's just not fair. We do everything right, and it's taken a long time. It costs us thousands of pounds. Yet people that just have total disregard for the law turn up here, get board, bed, everything done for them, when the people here are struggling with the cost of living crisis.
Absolutely. Ivon Sampson there, special immigration lawyer. What's you on what you've heard so far?
Well, I think my friend's a bit confused about the law, to be quite frank with you. So in my 30 years experience of practicing immigration and asylum law, first of all, we're members of the Refugee Convention. And what that means is we have an international obligation to comply with the terms of that convention. So let's just take Article 28 for the start. So Article 28 says that you're permitted to come into the UK illegally. So you can enter illegally into a country, and the receiving country has to accept it as a good cause if you are a genuine asylum seeker. Second point, Article 34, that talks about using false identity documents. So you can actually use a false identity document under the Refugee Convention to enter a country. Now, you're shaking your head.
I am.
There's a reason. There's a reason for that.
My radio listeners, I am absolutely shaking my head.
There's a reason for this, and it's humanitarian. People, genuine refugees fleeing persecution, run for their lives. They may not have a genuine, they may not even have a passport. They may not be able to prove their identity. Now, the other point is, as well as the laws that we have to comply with regard to Refugee Convention, also, are you aware that 50% of the people coming across the channel are genuine refugees? And that's the Home Office's own figures.
So Ivan,
we know that.
Could you just answer me a question? Because I think many of my viewers will be confused right now. If that's the case, how can we see scenes of people throwing their documentation into the channel, coming over here in the dinghies? Why are they doing that if they are genuine cases of refugees who could seek sanctuary in this country?
Well, as I said, if you're not a genuine refugee, you should be removed. And this is the problem with this policy, because number one, I think it will be deemed to be unlawful, as the new laws that were being brought in to make it a criminal offence to even come across the channel. That was deemed by the court to be unlawful, and this policy will follow the same route. No, look, listen, if you're not a genuine refugee, make it quite clear you have no place to be in the UK. However, what you're doing is throwing the baby with the bathwater. So you have 50% of people coming across the channel are genuine. We've got to treat them fairly. We can't treat them in the same way as those who are coming here who are not genuine.
Thank you, Ivan. Dean, I just want to bring you back in on that, because Ivan knows more about the law and the refugee conventions than I certainly do. But I'm wondering, and I am damn sure, actually, that many of my viewers will be wondering this as well. If that's what the law says, if these are what those conventions says, we need to leave the conventions and change the laws.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that. We're a tiny little island. I've been very fortunate this lifetime to live in Australia, India, America. We're tiny. And to say that people can just have the right to come here, this has to change. Because if you think 4 years ago, 3,000 people a year were risking their own lives and the lives of our military and border force that are trying to save them and help them. But it's 30,000 this year, 30. And if 50% of them aren't coming here lawfully, then this is just a completely bad practice that has to be stopped. Now, to try to deter people from coming here has got to be the government's stated objective. And if that means, removing ourselves from conventions or conventions being amended to reflect the reality on the ground, because I have to say as well, I see that people are travelling from France to get here. Like you said earlier, what conflicts are they fleeing in France or Germany or Poland or the 10 other countries they've left? I mean, to say that you can just come here, again, how can we have a social welfare system? Because I never hear the left or anyone on that side of things coming up with solutions. If you just let everyone that's in a conflict zone come here, this is hundreds of millions of humans. Yeah. And they can't fit on this island. We can't have an NHS. We can't have schooling that's paid for. And the thing is that if everyone comes here from the countries that can't offer their people these services and this quality of life, well, then we won't have that either if it continues, and it's hundreds of thousands a year.
Yeah, Dean, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. But yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Immigration consultant Dean Morgan and the specialist immigration lawyer Ivan, we've got to end it there, I'm afraid. I'd love to see Dean
in a room full of 80,000 Ukrainians who are here and explain that policy to them. Are we going to send them back, Dean? Is that what we're going to do?
No, they can follow due process. They apply from overseas through an embassy and we follow the law. Exactly. You don't just make up the rules and come here because you feel like it.